Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to the Mindfulness Daily Practice. We're continuing our series on neuroscience and mindfulness. So we've been walking through several different pieces. We talk a little bit about neuroplasticity. We talked yesterday about autopilot, kind of what happens when we're not consciously in control of what's going on. And today's topic is about the brain's default mode network. And so I think autopilot's a nice transition into default mode network. So default mode network is a term that was coined in 2001. There was, I think someone had theorized in the early 1900s that when we are at rest, that our brain is not at rest. And this is, we now have the technology of fMRI. fMRI is functional magnetic resonance imaging, and fMRI can check real-time what's happening inside of the brain, what parts of the brain are active, so we can see what's going on inside of the brain. And so this theory that was proposed, I think in the 1930s, was shown to be true, that in fact the brain's output or energy consumption changes about 5% from when we're at rest than when we're active. And so what's going on? What's happening to our brains when we're at rest? Well, this part of the brain, or these several parts of the brain, I won't walk you through the anatomy. You can look that up for yourself if you like. These several parts of the brain that interact with each other are active when we're at rest. And what's going on, and why is it called the default mode network anyway? I think one of the reasons is that inside the scanner, inside the fMRI, before the test goes on for the subjects inside the fMRI, the researcher says, okay, now just relax, don't think about anything, the test hasn't started yet. And what's discovered is that the mind is in fact really active during that time. And so what's the mind active doing? It's doing all of the things that are traits of autopilot. It's thinking about ourselves, it's mind wandering, it's wandering into the future, it's wandering into the past. So and the common theme, of course, about the default mode network is that it's all self-related. So it's all the things thinking about ourselves. And interestingly as well, is that it's usually not happy things about ourselves. It's usually thinking about what could go wrong, thinking about what's already gone wrong. It's this wandering about planning, but not intentionally. It's just this kind of default activity of the brain that the brain does, and with this kind of self-referential thinking. And interestingly, default mode network can be shown to be overactive in people who have chronic anxiety, lots of stress, people who as well are depressed. It's that this kind of self-referential thinking just continues on without our control over it at all. And if you'd like to, if you want some example of what the default mode network is like, it's like that little voice inside of your brain. And I mean, I don't know about you, but it kind of sounds like my own voice. And what's the voice say? It's it's not like a schizophrenic voice that the outside of me telling me to do something. It's more of like I'm leaving to go somewhere, and I'm like, oh, where are my keys? Right? I don't say to myself out loud, where are my keys? Right? It happens inside of my head. This little voice goes, where are my keys? And then I look around and they're on the table, and I go, oh, there they are. And so these are kind of little symptoms of what the default mode network is like. So, okay, the default mode network's always running, right? When we're at rest, the default mode network is running. And we learned as well neuroplasticity. So if this constant, or this kind of self-referential thinking is happening constantly, if we're constantly going into fear about the future and regret about the past, it's going to reinforce this. So it feels, well, maybe I'm kind of helpless to be stuck in this kind of thinking. So this, of course, is where mindfulness comes in. As we practice mindfulness, and that means could be more than just meditation. It can be being mindful in daily life. We interrupt that default mode network, and that has been shown in fMRI. When people are meditating, the default mode network is a lot quieter, because we are, instead of thinking about ourselves, we're focusing on something that's happening right now. We're focusing on present moment sensations, and so this can start to create some new default mode for the brain. So instead of this constant thinking about ourselves, thinking about the future, thinking about the past, we instead can drop into present moment awareness. And present moment awareness does help through, and you can see it through, if you look on studies about the default mode meditation and fMRI, you'll see that the default mode quiets down a bit when we're meditating. And that can be, not just sitting on the cushion, sitting here practicing meditation. It can be walking around outside. So as we walk around, instead of being on autopilot, doing what we typically do, as we walk around, we don't have to think, as I said yesterday, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Instead, our mind is usually way somewhere else. So instead, it is possible. Walking meditation is like bringing attention to the soles of the feet. So feel your feet inside of your shoes. Feel the texture of your socks. Notice how the pressure profile is constantly changing on your feet as you're walking. This is a way that instead of constantly being lost in thought, for us to instead be dropping into the present and to start cultivating this present moment awareness, which is a cure for this constant mind wandering that may be causing us suffering. And this is something that's interesting as well, is that it does tend to be really negative. It does cause us to suffer, to be constantly thinking about ourselves. So, and what's that voice like? I guess that's another thing I want to kind of cover today. What's that voice sound like? Is it like, I can't believe I said that. Oh, that was so stupid. I'm such an idiot. And has the voice ever said something like that? And if you're like me, a lot of times that voice is one that's really harsh, and can be harsher than, I think this is true for a lot of us, harsher than what we might say to even an enemy. It's like I might think this about my enemy, but I wouldn't actually say it. And so this kind of default mode thinking can be really harsh and can be really critical. And this also isn't healthy, and causes us to suffer unnecessarily. So this constant, maybe we think that the only way to get better is to be cruel to ourselves. And this is a good transition into, I've been waiting, once a quarter I try and do a series, or I do a series on loving kindness. So this is a little bit of a transition. So we will be, in the upcoming weeks, doing our quarterly series on loving kindness. So looking forward to that. But what's the point of loving kindness? It's to help incline the mind to not be so harsh on yourself. Instead, can that voice, instead of being an inner critic, be an inner ally, be there to help us when we're down, be there to help pick ourselves back up instead of continuously berating ourselves and beating us up when we're down. Okay, welcome everybody. Default mode while sleeping and dreaming, this is different. What happens when we're sleeping? This is a different topic, so we can cover that some other time. Let's get into our practice, shall we? So get yourself comfortable. I know I've been doing a lot of seated meditations these days. One of the reasons is so that you can practice. So instead of switching it up with a lot of variety, instead continuing to see how it goes. When you practice sitting meditation every day, you start to have a little bit more higher degree of awareness about what's going on with you each day. So kind of checking in. And so let's start by doing that. So if you like, allowing your eyes to close, sitting up straight and tall, connecting to your intention. Why are you here today? Maybe allowing your posture to reflect that intention. Dignified, with purpose. And you can even notice your posture can affect the quality of your meditation. As we begin to observe the connection between the mind and the body and the emotions. So how are you doing today? Who is it that's showing up to this practice today? See if you can look at yourself cognitively. What's happening in the mind? Is the mind agitated? How about the field of the emotions? What mood are you in today? And how about the body? Many times our mood has a strong effect on the body. So can you feel sensations of tightness, sensations of ease? So what do you notice as you scan your face? Do you find tightness in your facial muscles? Do you find fatigue there? How about the jaw? Now checking in with the neck and the shoulders. The upper back and lower back. The chest and the abdomen. And so also bring some attention to the extremities, the arms, the hands, the legs, the feet. We just observe the body in its entirety. Maybe you have a little answer to the question, who is it that's arriving here today? And so now, as we get started, many of us may be feeling some tension, so let's breathe together. So I'll breathe in and breathe out on a count of 5. So after your next exhale, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now returning to natural breath. And so maybe now we have awareness of our entire bodies. So let's begin to narrow that focus. Finding where it is in the body that we can observe the breath most prominently, most easily. And for many of us, that will be the abdomen. And maybe you say, well, the abdomen's a big area. Where can I pay attention to some narrow focus point of the abdomen? And for me, I find about 2 finger spaces above my navel is where I find the most activity in my abdomen. As I breathe in, I can feel that stretching out of the abdominal wall. As I breathe out, I can feel the relaxation. The skin relaxes. That point comes back towards the spine. I can even feel my t-shirt gently rubbing across that spot. So my shirt becomes a little bit tighter as I breathe in, a little bit looser as I breathe out. And so for some of us, this isn't the place where the breath is most apparent, so you can instead find wherever you feel the breath most prominently. Allow your attention to rest there, but as best you can, narrowing your focus. See if you can narrow your focus to 1 square centimeter. Tiny patch of skin. And as best you can, hold your observation there. Real time, noticing that in no 2 moments is that area exactly the same. Maybe your mind's wandering right now. Maybe you've started thinking. You can hear that little inner voice inside your head thinking about something, giving you some great idea, telling you what needs to be done next. Welcome it. Don't push it away. Observe what's coming out. What's showing up as that default mode network reactivates? What is it that has drawn my attention away from my intentional focus on my breath? Must be something interesting and important. So give it space, observe it, and then as best you can, release it, let go. As you refocus your attention back to that 1 square centimeter, 2 finger spaces above the navel. Remember, every time the mind wanders, just welcoming that thought for a moment, observing it, being with it, before letting go and returning the attention back to our area of focus. And now the time has come for us to draw our practice to its natural close. So take a moment to congratulate yourself for having made it through today's practice. Maybe set some intention to continue practicing, as it's through regular practice that you'll start to see results. So in practice with 3 rings of the bell. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining in practice today. Thanks for being here to support each other. I've got my meditating cat here as well. Any questions or comments? How did your practice go today? As well as any questions about mind wandering, default mode network. Thanks, David. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, that's right. It's it's my gimmick, right? Frank's my gimmick. It's like, come for the meditation, stay for the cat. Okay, well, let's see. Let me at least tell you what we've got coming up while I wait. Tomorrow's the body scan. So we have the 1-hour body scan starting at the same time as always. It's the 1-hour body scan. And then at the beginning of next week, we'll talk about what's meta-attention. So, it's a complicated topic, so I won't even breach it here at this moment. So we'll talk about meta-attention and kind of tie it a little bit to neuroscience. I'll do a little bit more on mindfulness in daily life, give some more assignments out to make sure or to encourage us to have some more seamless transition between the seated meditation and mindfulness in daily life, and start to have some idea, some observation, what is happening as I become more mindful in daily life. And then the following week we'll be working on that series on loving kindness. Thanks, CC, for your donation. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Sue. Barbara shares, I had lots of thoughts about my past today. Attended a memorial service earlier today, and my mind was still there. Thanks, Barbara, for sharing. And that's interesting how that happens. And maybe this is a testament to how strong of an experience that we're having. I don't know about you, but strong emotions tend to evoke a lot of thoughts. And they're thoughts that sometimes I don't want to have. And they're thoughts that will keep coming back. And especially when there's strong emotions tied to it. And so just like we were talking earlier at the beginning before we started meditating, this, as we're starting to meditate, as we're checking in on the body, on the mind, on the emotions, just seeing how all three of these things are interrelated. So strong emotions, can cause a bunch of thoughts to come around it, and those thoughts can increase those emotions, and the thoughts and emotions create bodily sensations. And so we can see as all of these things happen, and especially these get stoked by some strong experience. So thanks so much, Barbara, for sharing. And Jean shares, hard to stay focused today. Mind kept calling me elsewhere. Anticipatory stress. So that's another interesting topic we covered this week, was how mindfulness can bring us back to the present. Anticipatory stress is stress worried about what's going to happen in the future, and already bringing that future stress into right now. So even though it's not happening, our amazing simulation machine makes it seem like it's happening right now. And so same with the residual stress. So even though it's over, it's like we're still reliving it. Okay. Thanks everybody for being here today. Time for me to say goodbye. I will see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, as we do a longer meditation to do body scan. So maybe you want a little change up from all the sitting meditation we've been doing. Tomorrow is that opportunity. Thank you, Ren. Thank you, everyone. Let us send some well wishes out before we go. Starting with self, of course. May I be happy and peaceful. May all of you watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life on earth, throughout the universe, big and small, near and far, good or evil, may they all be happy and peaceful. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.